Hello and welcome to this discovery presentation on how to achieve a 5-star review from the MERLOT Biology Board. I'm Michael Plotkin and I serve along with Marty Zahn as the co-editor of the MERLOT Biology Board. Several other members of the board have contributed to this presentation, including Pankaj Mehrotra, Juval Dario Becker, Harsha Sharma, and the famous Jim Bidlack. So as a biology instructor or biologist of some sort, you've no doubt created some sort of resource that you really should share with the world. So this could be anything from a lesson plan for something you're going to teach. It could be an article you've published either in a journal, a newsletter, or an in-house publication even. It could be a recording of a lecture or demonstration, even lecture notes you've written up. Could be a website you've created or worksheets you've created, animations or tutorials you've created, a collection you've created of videos or other materials, even ones that aren't your own. And it could be an OER material, something that you've written and published as an OER or contributed to. So if you've done any of these, and I'm sure you have, you should submit it to MERLOT. So the process for submitting is relatively straightforward. You simply go to the MERLOT website. On the top left of the banner, you'll see the Add drop-down menu. You click Add a Material to MERLOT, and you'll be guided through a series of steps excuse me, that will help you submit the material. So before you click on Add the Material, there's a few things you might want to think about. So one of these considerations is your resource free? Another one is, have you included accessibility information? And a third general feature to think about is, does your resource carry a Creative Commons copyright? So, is your resource free? Well, free is obviously better in terms of popularity on MERLOT. Instructors are happy to use free materials. We do have materials that cost something on MERLOT as well, but certainly free is going to be more popular. Accessibility information is critical for many instructors because there are many cases in which accessibility standards have to be met for the material to be used. And so this includes closed captioning, sufficient contrast, headers, those sort of things. And we highly encourage you to think about accessibility before you submit a material. And then the last aspect, copyright, we highly encourage you to think about a Creative Commons copyright. There's a large variety of these, and you can still control how people use or attribute your work in the future, even with a Creative Commons copyright, but it does allow instructors to use it without any legal implications. Okay, so let's say you've submitted a material to MERLOT. We're going to go over how we evaluate the materials and how you can ensure that your material gets the highest possible rating from the MERLOT Biology Board. So generally speaking, when there's a material in our queue to review, that means we've already looked at the material briefly and determined that it's something we should review. And then we assign reviewers to do it. People volunteer to do the review. And the first thing the reviewer does is to describe the resource, including things like the type of material, the technical requirements, learning goals, recommended uses, in class, out of class, that sort of thing. The target population, which is generally higher education in MERLOT, but could be high school or even elementary school, and any prerequisite knowledge or skills that are needed to effectively use the website. After we've done that, we then evaluate the resource more specifically in 3 general areas: quality of content, potential effectiveness as a teaching tool, and ease of use. So we compile a list of strengths and concerns in each of those 3 areas, and then we actually give a numerical rating for each of those 3 areas ranging from 0 to 5. And the final rating of the resource is a numerical average of those 3 area ratings, and that contributes to the star score that the resource eventually gets. So the sort of things that we look for when we review resources are, is it engaging? So what does engaging mean? Well, engaging means that it has visual appeal, the writing style is lively, it's something of interest to people, it's something that would be appealing to people and catch their attention. Engaging is somewhat vague, but it's something that you know it when you see it. We also think about whether the resource would be useful to instructors. So is it presented in a form that can easily be adopted or potentially adapted or adjusted if that's allowed by the copyright? We think about learning goals as well. So these are important because instructors often need to designate these if they're involved in designing a course through backward design. They might need to think about these. And so the knowledge, skills, capacities that a student would achieve from the resource would be important to identify. We often create these if the resource doesn't have them when we review it. But the key thing here is to think about the resource not in terms of what the function of the resource is, but from the perspective of the student who might be using it. Okay, so just to look in a little more detail at each of the three main areas that we evaluate. So quality of content. Our reviewers are content experts. Generally, people volunteer to review resources that are in their area of expertise. And of course, we're looking for high quality content. That's a deal breaker if we don't see that. But it's important to point out that to get those 5 stars, high quality content is not enough. It's important, but it's not enough because we also look at these other aspects of the resource. So just as with teaching, an instructor who has expert knowledge is not necessarily a great teacher. A resource that's accurate and high quality in terms of information and content might not be very useful to instructors. So we look at how a resource could potentially be used effectively as a teaching tool. And our reviewers are mostly instructors or teachers. So for the 5-star review, we're looking at things like, are learning objectives included that can be incorporated into a lesson plan? Can the resource be used to measure student learning outcomes? So is it accessible? Are the concepts presented logically, progressively, sequentially, in a logical order, efficiently? How easily can the resource be integrated into a course or activity? So is it a standalone thing or something that an instructor can use on their own? And then we also look for interactivity, which is important. So, information is easy to come by, but we're also looking for some sort of interactive aspect of a resource. And then last area is ease of use. So our reviewers are not only content experts and generally instructors themselves, but they're also people that use computers and use these online resources in their teaching. So when we look at a resource, if we're going to give it 5 stars, we're looking at things like, are the instructions for use of the website clear? Is the design of high quality, both the presentation and organization? Is the navigation intuitive and obvious? Does the website work as intended? Things like links and menus and things like that. And then, is it in compliance with accessibility standards? So if not, that's a serious problem. And if it is, that's a great benefit to the resource in terms of its usability. So submit your work. We highly encourage it. We really think if you have a resource that you use in your classes, you can submit it. There are many benefits of submitting to MERLOT. You're engaged in a professional activity. You're providing a service for instructors around the world, and MERLOT truly is international, especially for those instructors that live in areas where they don't have access to resources like we do. And then also, One big benefit is that you can get a review of your work. So if you submit it to MERLOT, you can eventually receive a detailed review of your work. And if you're interested in improving your work, that's certainly a benefit. So check out the MERLOT site. In particular, we have an area of the MERLOT website that has a lot of information about how to categorize materials and how to, when you're adding materials to MERLOT, how to contextualize them. You're also free to contact me and Marty and possibly other editors of the biology board. We can expedite a review if it's warranted. So if you're really interested in getting the review, let us know. You can reach us at biology@merlot.org. And if your resource is reviewed on MERLOT and doesn't receive a 5-star rating, we can talk to you about it and possibly suggest fixes that might improve its rating. So it's a chance to get a free review both from the expert editors and reviewers of the biology board and also from the general public who can rate your material and upload lesson plans and indicate how or in what context they've used your material. Last of all, we want to throw in a plug for you as a biologist and possibly an instructor of biology as well to consider joining the MERLOT Biology Board so that you can participate in helping to review and curate these amazing resources that we review and curate in the MERLOT collections. Thanks. Have a great conference. And don't forget to evaluate this session and other sessions. Your voice is important.